We are in the book of Proverbs doing a study called Wisdom for Life. This morning we talk on a not so often addressed topic called laziness. Work, laziness, and the formation of character. If you're a young man, if you're a person that can write, I encourage you to take the note and make sure that you follow along. I think I have 70, there should be enough, or 80 handouts. The reality of laziness, even though Solomon deals primarily with boys and men, doesn't mean that women are not lazy. He deals with men because if that becomes a habit of life, it will affect the entire family. And so the address to men doesn't exclude women. And the reality of laziness in that day was not something that was purely in terms of how we think without work, meaning that you don't, oh, by the way, there are pens here. You're not doing anything. It's a slow regression from social activity, a slow regression into a life of isolation. And so there's a lot that goes into it. Before we get to the study in Proverbs, I want to read to you from Colossians as a foundation to think about work. Oftentimes when we think of work, we think in terms of, oh, it's just an income. You know, I have to do work, and so I have to go every Monday and do what I need to do and come back home and then enjoy my time at home. And our work environment does not become enjoyable. Listen to Paul as he writes to the church in Colossae. Bondservants, verse 22 of chapter 3. Bondservants, obey in everything those who are your earthly masters, not by way of eye service as people pleasers, but with sincerity of heart, fearing Yahweh or fearing the Lord. Just think about that. Slaves, those who were supposed to, who were bought, and those who were supposed to work for owners, and he says to them, bond servants, do everything you do. This is the lowest of the low in that society. Do everything as a believer, not as people pleasers, but as pleasing the Lord, fearing the Lord. Verse 23, whatever you do, work heartily, do it with joy, as for the Lord and not for men. Think about that. Whether you are a slave or whether you work in, maybe your job makes you feel like a slave. Doesn't matter your boss, doesn't matter who he is or who she is. It says, whatever you do, do it as for the Lord, not for men, knowing, verse 24, that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are servants of the Lord. You are servants of the Lord Christ. For the wrongdoer will be paid back for the wrong he has done, and there is no partiality. And then he addresses the masters to consider those who are slaves, to treat with them wisely and in the fear of the Lord. It is interesting. The New Testament tells us how to work. Even if you have an unjust boss, you work as if you're working for the Lord. If the Lord is happy with the quality of your work, then it doesn't matter what anyone else says. So work for him and not for people. Now in Proverbs, go back to Proverbs. This is where we'll spend the entirety of our time. Proverbs deals with a father's instruction to a son. Now notice in verse 1 of chapter 6, my son, if you have put up sincerity for your neighbor, you have and have given your pledge for a stranger. If you are snared in the words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and save yourself. Addressing his son in the reality that he is enslaving himself to an oath. He's enslaving himself to a pledge that is made, paying security maybe for someone else or paying security for himself. It says here, put up security for your neighbor. And so he's paid a deposit on behalf of someone else. And now he says, well, do this and you will save yourself. So this is the solution to him claiming or putting up security or paying a pledge for somebody that is a stranger or a neighbor. This is what you are supposed to do. You have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go hasten and plead urgently for your neighbor. Don't wait. Don't sit on it. Go do something about it. Go to the person that you've paid the pledge so that you are able to eventually pay it off. Go and plead. Give no sleep to your eyes and your eyelids no slumber. Proverbs chapter 6. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like the bird from the hand of the fowler. All that to say is do something about your pledge. Don't let it rest. Don't let your words just become promises. Don't delay. Don't rationalize. Don't remain silent. Just do something about it. And so in our Bibles, it is called practical warnings. And this is an instruction for those who enslave themselves by paying a deposit for someone else and hoping that things are going to work out. But if things don't work out, do something about it. Then verse 6, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Not a separate section. So if you are struggling with dealing with your debt, struggling with dealing with your problems that people are expecting you to pay, people are expecting you to fulfill or not renege on your promises, then do the following. Go learn from the ant. Act. As a lazy man, you cannot sit around and just wait for things to happen. Be active. Both sections deal with the same context. The wise man acts wisely, acts quickly, takes responsibility, and refuses to delay. From verse 6 onward, you have the foolish one, the sluggard, who delays, who thinks about it, who remains passive, doesn't do anything about anything. Hear this. The lack of responsibility is a lack of response is a response. Others will one day depend upon you, and when there are habits of laziness, habits of no response, habits of just tomorrow, I'll get to it tomorrow, they tend to seep into almost every other area of your life. And so priority does not make sense to you. You choose what is the easiest, the quickest, and the best for yourself. Now, you may get married, and so your wife will depend upon you. You may have children, so your children will become dependent upon you. You may serve in a church or become a pastor. Your church will become dependent upon you. People will look to you for stability, for provision, and for leadership. This is instruction from a father to a son. Son, do not become a lazy bum. Do not make promises that you don't keep. The two go together. Proverbs is written from a father's perspective to a son. And it is interesting that he's addressing his sons here. And he calls him, you sluggard. Imagine you going home and your dad speaks to you like that. You know, we are emotionally broken, if that is the word spoken to us. We are a fragile people. We don't always hear that kind of stern language. But there's a reason he uses this language. It is a wake-up call to his son. In your notes, I have the folly of silence. I think I put it in. The folly of parental silence. We, as fathers, are responsible to train our kids. we are responsible to invest theological understanding of who God is, what is his way, what is his will, what does his word say. That's wisdom. Wisdom is always connected to knowing who God is and then living in a right relationship with who he is. That is our duty. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Teach them by the way, when they wake up, when they sit down, when they go for a walk, when you come in, when you go out. Let them understand the nature, the quality, the authority of God. Prove to them in nature that he's created this. And that's why it's working. Proverbs 29. Verse 15. Verse 15. The rod of reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. Interesting. Think about this. Who's responsible for the training, the theological, the foundational training of how a son should think? It is the father. Now you get to, I think I said it last week, chapter 1 through to 6 deals with a father's instruction. Chapter 31 deals with a mother's instruction. So both are responsible, but the weight of instruction is on the father. Now think about what he says. The rod of reproof, it's also called the rod of discipline, gives wisdom or results in wisdom. It corrects. It provides the pathway. But a child left to himself brings shame to his what? Not father. Mother. What is he saying? It's a failure of the father to the wife, to the mother. When we leave our children to ourselves to raise themselves, to by themselves, to choose their own way, and not be submissive to both parents, God, and Scripture. That silence is helpful. We think that just leaving them and they will eventually sort it out. No, that is folly. That is unbiblical. That is anti what Proverbs is teaching. Correction is not harshness. It is an act of love. It is good to say, listen, it is not right for you to think this way. It is not right for you to pursue this. It is not right for you to do this. And it is correct to use language that is appropriate for the moment. Go to the ant, you sluggard, you lazy one. Left to himself describes the absence of guidance, not independence. Independence is good. You want to train them to be independent because you want them out of the house, right? You want them to get there. So you want to train them, but that again is training. But leaving them by themselves is not teaching independence. That is teaching an app that is giving them no guidance. Reproof is verbal, it is intentional, and it is engaging. It's teaching your son to greet people by shaking hands and looking them in the eyes, not whimpering away. Teaching them how to engage in a social environment, not to scream when other people are around. You can do that at home, but when you're in a corporate, in a social environment, to consider others. Teaching them that it is not good to run into other people if they are not your brother or your sister. Parents need to focus their attention on raising kids that understand the will of God, the way of God, and the wisdom of God. We think that these are small infractions that, oh no, they will learn. And we who grew up in the 70s, 80s, we were raised differently. Like there were no, what do they call it, baby proofing of the house. You know what that is like? Put stuff on the corners and make sure that they can't open the toilet or the dishwasher. We didn't have dishwashers back then, or maybe they had. We just never had. But there was none of that. My mom used to say, "They gaat uitvinden. You will find out." So you could put your finger in the plug and your hair stands up like that. Well, now you know. You'll never do that again. I'm not saying that is the best way of teaching. But that's the kind of parenting we had. Um, the danger of disengaged parents is that it provides the breeding ground for building bad habits. Does that make sense? When we are silent when kids are teenagers, when they turn 13, and that's the social environment that we call them teenagers, they are still young. They are not men and they are not children. They are young. That's how the Bible calls them. And it calls them young men or young women up till the age of 25 for a reason. When you turn 30, they would consider you to be a more mature man, a man, right? So up till that age, you are still young. And when you allow them to develop bad habits early on, when they are old, what happens? It's very difficult to undo habits. Somebody said it this way. In my last session at the TMS, at the seminary, we had the privilege of having John MacArthur speak to us. And he mentioned that it takes 30 days to build a habit, good or bad, 30 days to build a habit. It will take a lifetime to break that habit that just took 30 days of habitual doing the same thing over and over, and eventually it becomes part of your existence. You can't do life without it. That takes an entire lifetime to break. So don't allow them to build bad habits. You inculcate into them what are good habits. All right. Number 2 in your notes, laziness defined. Laziness defined. Laziness is the willful neglect of responsibility. Notice I have made it wide. Apparently my definitions are ridiculously long. That's a you problem, not a me problem. But it is not just the fact that you don't do anything. It's not the fact that you're just sitting at home. It's much wider in the biblical sense. So laziness is a willful neglect of responsibility characterized by delay, excuse making or making excuses, you can write it there either way, love of ease, and self-deception, and I will prove this, which results in loss, dependence or reliance on others, and a lack of desire for what is right, revealing a heart which does not understand God's design and purpose for man. I think I have of man. It should be for man. It is not a disease, people. Your son is not born with a gene that is lazy. Your daughter is not just, she's just like that. No, it is a learned habit. You left them, maybe when they were younger, to not make the bed. It's okay, they'll grow and they eventually figure it out. For those of you who had a lazy upbringing, meaning that, your room was a mess and you laid until like 12 o'clock, or for those of you a little bit more righteous, 11 o'clock. And so maybe that is who you were, and now you have a job, you have a wife, you have a child, you have a little bit more responsibility, and so you cannot wake up at 12, or maybe you still do. But you understand that there's stuff to be done, and so you are forced to be unlazy, to be the opposite of who you normally were because of circumstance. It's not a disease. There's no cure. It's just hard work. It's a willingness to fight against the habit of laziness. It is not necessarily permanent. It is a habit of sin that needs to be dealt with, or it will remain and affect other areas of life. If left untreated, like I said to you, those of you who have now changed because of your circumstances, you can testify of what you were. Maybe you're scared to do that and say, you know what, I used to wake up at 1 o'clock. The sun was hitting the other way. And that's my time of emerging out of my cave. Some of you maybe have had that life. You can testify of how hard it was maybe to adjust to, so I had a friend, to normal life, to work life. And lazy bum, he decided one day he'll go in whenever he feels like it's time to go in. Well, needless to say, he didn't last, but didn't learn the lesson. And eventually he said, you know what? The Lord is going to come anyway. So I might as well just not go to work. Eventually it just affects you. And that was foolishness, obviously. But it affects your way of thinking because you've so um, habitualized this pattern of life that it affects how you think. It affects your approach to life. So if left untreated, unchallenged, and uncorrected, they will become overwhelmed. These people will become overwhelmed by normalcy, by a normal life. They slack at work. They will have a bad testimony for the family and Christ if they are Christians. You know what? Christians should be the most hardworking, the most excellent of workers in the workplace. We should have a testimony that outshines everyone else. Our desk is always clean. We are always working hard. And if it's 5 o'clock, we knock off. Just because you're working longer hours doesn't mean you're a better worker. It just, I'm not going to go down the route. But anyway, let me just say that we ought to be the hardest workers, not necessarily the last to leave and the first in. Number 3, correcting sluggish behavior by learning from nature. Notice the instruction in verse 6. Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. This is not a suggestion. This is a rebuke. This is a strong assertion from the Father. Listen, you've got yourself into a difficult situation. Don't sit around. This is not, oh, sorry, son. Let me see what I can do to help you. No, you go learn. This is what you're supposed to be doing. The difference between a rebuke and an instruction is in the tone of the writer. Now, they tell us that you can't figure out the tone of scripture or of authors. Well, that is not true. Solomon is not saying, my son, go to the ant and learn from him. That is instruction. He is saying, sluggard, go to the ant. The vocative there, the address, the one who's being addressed, tells you the tone of the text here. It's similar to saying, oh, you sinners, versus, oh, beloved brothers. You see the difference? Rebuke versus a loving address. So when he starts, my son, loving address, let's get this right. Rebuke, verse 6, go to the ant. Make sure that you are doing both, instructing and rebuking. Go learn from God's ordered creation. It's not a compliment. It is a rebuke to his sluggish, lazy son. In other words, this is not natural. For you to wait for things to change is not normal. Now he gives 3 verbs here. Go, consider, and be wise. I think I have it in your notes. Yeah, 3 bullet points. Go, consider, and be wise. Go, learn from God's ordered creation. God made the ant in a certain way, and it functions within that ordered nature or function. Consider. They function according to their design. Look at what God has done, the ant. Look at how they function. Consider their ways. Consider what they do without any prompting. They do what they were made to do. Design. Be wise. Consider yourself. If they are doing what they have been designed to do, what on earth are you doing? You're living foolishly. You're making bad decisions. This is not God's plan for you as a man. Remember chapter 31 where the mother instructs her son? My son, oh son of my womb, what on earth are you doing? This is not how you're supposed to be living. The same instruction applies here. This is not who you are supposed to be. This is not how you are supposed to live. Lessons from the ant. Lessons from the ant. The ant works without supervision. Works without supervision. Prepares ahead of time and acts with initiative. Consider the contrast in verse 4. Give your eyes no sleep and your eyelids no slumber. Here's the instruction. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Don't let circumstances or situations crawl up on you. Be active. The ant demonstrates that, works, prepares, and acts. Parental advice here. Teach the importance of being a functional part of the family. It's not just the fact that you were born to the family. That is a blessing. But God has given you as a gift to this family. Your giftedness and abilities as you are learning and growing up is for the family first. Tell them to be a functional part. Don't let them get away with lazing around. Chores. Don't pay them for chores. They need to learn that there are certain things that we do which is part of our life and existence. Let them do chores with joy, knowing that they are doing it as unto the Lord, as an act of worship. Imagine that, standing and singing songs of praise while washing the dishes, even though you really, at this time, really want to get to bed or get to your game for certain people. Teach them the principle of work and pay. And so maybe if they wash your car, pay them for that, because that's outside the normal aspect of family life. If they by themselves decide to go do the garden, now granted if they don't mess it up, you pay them for that. If they don't work, don't pay them. Teach them there are board games that you can teach this principle. You got to work, you got to get things in order for you to pay stuff. Teach. Don't wait for them to learn from other people. If we are not the instructors of our kids, someone else will fill that position. The problem that arises here from verse 6 onwards is the principle that if you must be told every time to do what is right, to do the most simple things, then you are not yet wise. Then you are not living under the standard of God, the principles of God, the will of God. You are doing what you want because that is best for you. You need to be encouraged away from self-time, away from screen time, away from lazing around, away from being unproductive, and to be a productive part of the family. Your mother is doing you a favor when she is not doing your laundry and she leaves it in a box outside and says, it's time that you wash your stinky clothes. You are helping them build in principles of work, of working with their hands. You can teach them a hobby, crafting, just not knitting and sewing if they are boys. Ladies, by all means, keep the boys from those kind of things, especially in this climate where boys get confused about who and what they are. Teach them a new language. That just means that you have to learn an instrument, etc. Teach them to work with their hands. Plumbing. Maybe you've got pipe outside the house and not inside the house, and tell them, okay, this fits there and that fits there. Go figure it out. Help them fix something, build something. Go do the neighbor's lawns, go shopping for old people. Give them a work ethic. That doesn't come naturally. It should, because this is how we've been created. Adam was created a worker bee. Placed him in the gardens to work the ground without Eve. But it was too much for him, and so God said, shame, this guy, he's just not able to. Let me give him a help. Teach them the importance of being active at home. These qualities build good habits for life. If you allow your son and your daughter to be lazy now, what happens when they are married? Oh, it's going to be hard for her and for her husband and for her kids. Wisdom takes responsibility without needing constant correction and prompts. That is a wise person. You see the effect of this on Christians today. You constantly have to follow up. The importance here is that work is part of God's design for man. It is not something that is a result of the fall. God wants us to lead in working. Our wives are being given as a gift, as a help to accomplish the plan of God for our lives. Work in the Jewish mindset was integrated with worship. They had to, the word serve and work was used interchangeably. Serve was a worship word and work was a practical word, but both of them had the idea of worshiping God in your work. So as you till the soil, as you do your normal labor, it is an act of worship to God. It demonstrates that you've placed yourself not as the pinnacle of life, but under the one who's head over all things, that is God himself. Okay. Where am I? Number 4, I think. Number 4. Addressing patterns of laziness. Text goes on. He explains how the ant functions. Without having a chief, verse 7, officer or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer. And that's the 3 qualities that I gave you in point 2. Point 3, she works, she prepares, she acts. And gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? The section directly follows, obviously, the previous section, verses 6 to 8. The structure is intentional. You have the positive affirmation of what the ant does, because that is the lesson that the Father's teaching. Go to the ant, learn from him. It takes initiative, it prepares, and it works. Positive example. Negative confrontation is here the sluggard. How long will you lie there? What does the text reveal? Number 1, laziness is seen in a refusal to rise for responsibility. Laziness is seen in the refusal to rise for responsibility. The love of self, comfort, and unwillingness to take responsibility is seen in how this person wastes time. How long this is ongoing behavior. Will you rise? The issue is not ability, but unwillingness. Of course he can rise. He's just not wanting to rise. The Father's not asking a question here. He's making a statement exposing the son's habit. Laziness, number 2, is incremental. Passive, by passive I mean inactive, and destructive. Notice what it says in the text. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of hands to rest. This is very appropriate in winter, right? A little sleep, just 5 minutes more. Just a little bit more. The repetition here is deliberate. In Hebrew, repetition intensifies. It demonstrates how this habit is built over time. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and then what? It's part of your existence. Before you realize it, you are lazy for life. He reveals how this habit of just lazing around doing nothing is built over time. He's not an early riser. Little bit by little bit, what is normal is replaced by small compromises. What is good is replaced by what is not good. Now, good, God has ingrained into our nature the need to rest. 7th day to the Jews, have your Sabbath rest. The earth must rest after, 70 years of labor. They need to give it a rest. A Sabbath rest. God has given us 6 days of work, and in the 7th day we must rest. What are we doing? We're working 5 days. We are all slackers. We need to work 6 days. It's part of our nature and design. God has designed it this way that we are supposed to be workers and have a rest day. So resting is not the issue. It is the incremental increase in rest that takes over what is normal life. The sluggard does not collapse all at once. It's a slow drift towards laziness. There's no resistance, it just eventually overwhelms him. This idea of folding the hands is an expression of a physical posture. Now we think of that or we think of that. It's just a way of explaining rest or disengagement, that there's no longer engagement in physical activity. So a little rest, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands. You see where this is going, right? There's no activity. He's not doing anything. Picking up your phone and scrolling while lying in bed is not doing anything. It's not describing that rest is sinful in and of itself. Like I said, Scripture affirms proper rest. But this is rest taken at the wrong time and at the wrong measure. It's long rest. He's taking his Sabbath rest all in one day. He's just in bed all the time. What is good is perverted for selfish reasons and becomes a dominating rule for life. Understand that principle. What is good is perverted for selfish reasons. And as a result of that, that rule becomes a dominating principle for the entirety of your life. It affects everything. This is a withdrawal from work, gradual withdrawal from responsibility. What does this image communicate? A person who is self-absorbed in what he wants does not engage in normal life, reaches out to, what did I want to say? Reach out to righteous activity. Does not reach negative, does not reach out to righteous activity, and does not labor for the glory of God. Why? Because who's at the pinnacle of his life? It is me. Me. Conclusion here, it symbolizes withdrawal from productivity, replaces what is good rest with both a perversion of that good. This is constant rest and withdrawal from God-honoring activity. The outcome is certain. Notice at the end what he says, verse 11. And poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. It comes to him. He does not see it coming. The robber, like a robber, is sudden and unavoidable. The lack arrives like a shameful armed man who has got no respect for your property. And he's saying, if this is you, guess what? You will have danger in life. You will be exposed and overrun. Poverty will be your portion. Number 5. Proverbs 23 speaks about the inner logic of the sluggard. I'm just going to run through this because the time is running out. The inner logic of the sluggard. Verse 13, notice what it says. I think this is 26. Let me just go over to 26. I'm in the wrong chapter. 26, verse 13. The sluggard says, there is a lion in the road. There is a lion in the streets. As a door turns on his hinges, so the sluggard turns on his bed. I can't get up. I can't get up. There's a lion outside. There's danger. I'm gonna be killed. The sluggard buries his hands in the dish. It wears him out to bring it back to his mouth. And I'll explain that in a moment's time. Verse 13. Laziness loves making excuses. Listen, the lion is not in the house. He's saying, I need to stay in bed because there's a lion in the street. The idea here is that there's distance between, there's no immediate danger, there's no threat to his life. And he's saying, I don't think I can get out. There's gangsters in the next area. Like I can't come out. No, they're shooting in Mitchell's Plain, but I'm living in Tokai. No, 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 no. There's danger. There's war in Iraq. I can't. I'm so scared that the bombs may fall on me. There's distance between him and the lion. That's intentional, the way that it is written here. And so the idea is the exaggeration, and that's intentional. He loves making excuses. He comes up with the dumbest excuse to stay in bed. Verse 14, he loves personal comfort. Laziness loves personal comfort. As the door turns on his hinges, so the sluggard turns on his bed. Can't get out. The lion's outside, so I'm just going to turn one more time. Oh, I just need to warm up this side. Yeah. Movement without progress. He's moving, he's doing something, but just no productivity. He's confined to what brings ease. Like I said to you, laziness is not just the fact that he stays in bed. It is wider. What brings ease to himself? Why? Because he loves himself more than anything else. We may be thinking of just staying in bed here, but this is such a wide application here. Wow. We confuse the projection here of comfort for just inactivity. Listen to what it says. I can't go outside. I can't do anything productive. So I'm staying inside. The best place for me is my bed. What is the best place for us? Sometimes it is what? Watching a TV series. I was thinking of something that is Bold and the Beautiful. I don't know what people watch nowadays. I was going to say I don't have TV, but we do have a TV. Or, like binge watching stuff. What about binge playing? That's not productive. That's using your hands, using your eyes, and not using your mind and just lazing around. I'm not saying that those things are wrong. It's the inappropriate use of those things, length of time, that demonstrates if it's wrong. Laziness prefers familiar ease over meaningful action. Verse 15, laziness destroys what should be natural. Destroys what should be natural. Listen to this. The sluggard buries his hand into the dish. It wears him out to bring it to his mouth. Do you hear what he's saying? The natural action of feeding yourself becomes a burden. Not that he can't feed himself. The most simplest thing is a problem. No, you're going to have to feed me. No. I can't do this. This is way too much for me. Listen, his hand is in the dish. It's an exaggeration. He's not saying literally that he can't feed himself. It's language used to extend the hyperbole. Food is accessible. This is the most minimal requirement, is to lift the hand and put it to the mouth. And he says, Mommy, I need you. Daddy, just take the fork, just the tip of the fork, and put it in my mouth. That's all I want. It's too exhausting for him. Listen, what Solomon is describing here is that there's no obstacle, there's no distance, this is not far, there's no difficulty, but he struggles with that. You get the point, right? The most simplest, non-complex things that you're giving him a task to do cannot be done. Why? Because of the habit of just lazing around, not being productive. See, laziness doesn't follow through. It loves to start things. I am going to be a sculptor. So you get the tools and you get all the things. This is what I'm going to do. And then you start day one. First hint, yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to do this. Day two, no, not today. Not today. Day three, I need something else. Too much work. Too much effort. Verse 16, laziness is self-deception. This is connected to verse 12, but listen to verse 16. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. The idea of 7 is a complete grouping of counselors. Like we would say perfect, but that just gives the wrong idea. But the idea is that there is sufficient counsel, but he's wise in his own eyes. Look at verse 12. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than him. That's harsh. This is the climax. He rejects collective wisdom. Not only wisdom from his parents, but nobody can tell him what to do. Do you see how this is not just lazing around sleeping? This is a habit of life that affects every aspect of your life. And so you are overwhelmed when your boss expects you to wake up early, to get to bed, and maybe you have online sessions. And instead of standing up, getting out of bed, putting on a suit and a tie and getting ready for your online meeting, you laze in bed. And they ask you, like, are you up? Yeah, I'm up. I'm just not out of bed, but I am up. I've been up for a long while. Self-deceived. Doesn't realize that his way of life is a problem. I'm going to end there. I've given you the major points under the number 6 here, putting it together, the biblical pattern. A lazy person delays, has excuses, prioritizes personal comfort and enjoyment. In completion, he doesn't always follow through on things and is self-deceptive. Laziness is not accidental. It is reinforced by wrong thinking. And that becomes a pattern. Parents, we are supposed to teach, supposed to instruct, supposed to teach wisdom, require work, and correct laziness by means of discipline. Any questions, comments, or anything you want to add to the teaching? For those of you who have been delivered from the burden of laziness, you want to comment? My brother's here. Is he here? There's he. He can comment on. I don't think I was a lazy person, but he can confirm that. I was too busy. I was ADHD plus 10. I was on the other side. My mom had to calm me down. Just go sit and read a book. No. I need to do stuff. I used to dig holes just for the sake of digging holes. Yeah. Anyway, any comments? Anything? Who's there? Yes, brother. Yeah. It didn't happen. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's the effect of a life of laziness, not being taught. Just take responsibility. Like if your wife doesn't cook, just make some eggs. Go plant a banana tree. You don't ever have to cook. Just eat bananas. Yeah, and I agree with you. There's definitely there's long-lasting effects, not only on that person but for the entire family. That is, some men just never learn how to cook, and that's okay. But if your wife can't, if she's sick, then learn. There's so many lessons on YouTube. Even if you burn it, just do something. Don't outsource cooking. Right? Anything else? Go ahead. Morning.
It's so challenging to get the balance of the top right. You go to the one extreme, you're lazy, and the other extreme, you overwork. And I think the only thing that really can anchor and balance is when you really experience and you accept that you're called to work, but you have to work to glorify God.
Yeah, it's a good point. Getting balance. I don't like the word balance. I don't use that word myself, but I think it's important to understand what the responsibility is. Does God expect us to work? Absolutely. Does He expect us to work all the time? Absolutely not. If you're working if your family's suffering, you don't get time with your wife, you don't get time with your children, if you don't get time for church, you're working too much. That means that's a sin. So has God given you the gift of working? Yes. But putting too much effort on work is the same as being lazy. There's an overreaction versus an underreaction. Not doing anything versus doing too much. So I used to be that guy. When my wife met me, you can ask her, I was working all hours of the night, like literally going to work. I could do it from home. But then I was to go to work like at 12 o'clock, finish up at 4, go sleep for a couple hours, get back at work maybe 7 or 8. It was insane. I had no idea that this is not normal. And yeah, when you are in that habit, it dominates your life. You can't see reason. The fool, the sluggard, doesn't take counsel. He's made up his own mind, and thank you for that comment. And the family suffers. The end of that is that the result, and it's not a promise, it's a warning. Poverty will overrun you. You are going to crash and burn. It's going to creep up you and it doesn't mean that you won't have resources. It just means that you are going to be overwhelmed by your circumstances. You could probably not go to work, whatever the implication is, but it will overwhelm you.